Greetings, everyone, and we're going to be talking about Orion, the missing character from Timon of Athens. Let me explain. Recently, this year, 2024, there was an archive in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, and inside a crate all the way in the back, they found the entire script, a quarto, of Timon of Athens, and in it, they found a missing page. It was part of a scene that nobody seemed to be aware of. So, huge change to the play, big news out there. Let's talk about where this scene goes. So this is Act 4, Scenes 1, 2, and 3. This is, what you're seeing is what already exists, what we're kind of comfortable with. And so, Act 4, Scene 1 ends, and it's a very short scene. This is the entire scene. It's just one speech. We should have been suspicious that part of the scene was missing. But it's without the walls of Athens. That's where it's set. Now, Act 4, Scene 2 takes place having nothing to do geographically with Timon or what he is actively doing. We're going to go to his house, we're going to chat with some of people there, and then we're going to jump to Scene 3. And this is where it gets a little weird, because now we're already in the woods in a cave, and we should have already been wondering, well, how did he get there? Was this just across the street? Because they need to know if they're going to keep that setup, but there's no implication that this is close. And during this scene, not even very many lines in, he's digging and he finds gold almost immediately upon starting to dig. How did he know to dig for gold? We should have known that something was missing. We didn't. But now we do, thanks to that one crate, with the right accession number now. Alright, let's talk about Orion a little bit, this new character. He is definitely a phlegmatic character. He might be drunk. There are different interpretations. People need to look at it a little bit more to determine if he's supposed to be played drunk. That might be for a director, but phlegmatic. I'm in the way of some of this, so I'll just go up here for a minute. He seems to be about 50 years old, and he's the one who's going to give Timon both a ride from point A to B, but also he's the one who mentions gold. So it fills this hole that we didn't even know was missing, but now we do, so we can't unsee it, right? Now, a lot of challenges with this additional scene. And the RSC was a great source, and you can see that between 1604 and 1606, Shakespeare was very busy. He was very busy, so he didn't have a lot of time to write and think about it. He wasn't spending a year per play, not at all. So the most challenging thing for us as the audience is we've already seen Timon of Athens without the scene. So now we're going to see it with, and the challenge is about balancing this scene, making it fit smoothly, as if this scene was always meant to be there. Because if you think about it, Timon is a very ranty, active character. That's who he is. That's who we know him as through the entire third act especially. But he's ranting even in the start of the fourth act. He's got these great long monologues. What would it take to make him be quiet, as he's written in this scene? And not only quiet, but willing to go along with somebody. He seems to be done with friends. So it's almost like he was purpose-built to be the perfect foil to the bad friends that we were introduced to earlier. But if he's too perfectly written, then wouldn't Timon just stay with him? He would. Of course he would. So he has to be given a reason. This is Timon. Timon has to be given a reason to go with this new character. but also a reason to leave. And that's a tricky thing. That takes, I don't know how many drafts Shakespeare must have gone through, but it couldn't be one or two. Even as he was so busy with these other works, this must have been something that plagued him a little bit, really drove him crazy, trying to figure out how to not change and affect what he wanted the ending to be. All right, I'm going to move on. So, since I've only had the pages, since it was discovered, this is probably the first time any of you are hearing this monologue. So, let's see how it sounds, all right? We'll watch it together, and then I'll kind of critique it, but I am still obviously holding the pages.
Good sir, I am Orion, and you seem, I might say, in the most distressing rain. Sit in the back, and I shall take you to my home. Shelter is what you need, my wet guest.
Oh no.
Of course, shelter is fine, but wouldn't you rather have money? A job. Yes, a job. Yes, a job. If you're interested in work, I could provide a job. A job for real money. Consider these hills are filled with gold. Gold. Do you care for gold? My farm is very prosperous. And with my friends, we are friends now, aren't we? Of course we are. And with my friends, I'm very generous. But the hills have more than this. Over there is where my grandfather supposedly buried his pirate treasure. Dad couldn't find it. I didn't believe, but you work for me. You would have plenty of time to search out there. No, you need not start from scratch. Daddy's cypress where he looked, so just find a spot left uncypressed, and you might find something. We'll get you good and dry and ready for a day's work, and on your leisure, I'll drive you over here like a good friend, and you can even, hey, whither you go?
All right. Moving right along. Let's see. There's more to talk about. And I want to kind of take this moment to kind of ponder a good Shakespeare lesson for high school. High school Shakespeare lesson. And I think the key is that high schoolers don't have the same background in Shakespeare as graduate students do. So the first thing is I'm going to simplify a lot of lessons. And I love the idea of creating an invented monologue. But it would have to be for the play we're working on. That would absolutely have to be it. So if the whole school, or at least my class, is working on Hamlet or Macbeth, that's the one where the monologue is going to come from. And then, as a class, we're going to create 4 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have one based on each of the 4 humors being a little out of line. Yellow, bile, black bile, maybe some red bile or blood, and of course, our famous phlegmatic character, the one that seems to be all over this presentation. So we create 4 together, and then randomly the students would be assigned 1 to create a monologue for. But the monologue would have to be persuasive. And it would have to try to persuade one of the key main characters of the play. Okay? So because it has to be persuasive, they'd have to use rhetoric and logic. And these techniques would be taught to them as well. So definitely rhetoric, an invented monologue, and the 4 humors are things that I really think can be taken from any level, graduate school, even higher, and pulled into a high school concept. So that's all I have And as a footnote, I'm going to say I will admit I did write it. Shakespeare did not create this monologue, so I hope you enjoyed.